This is part of the work of Mel Bagshaw. It's called Project 9 Lives. Interesting stuff. In a sense, it also romanticizes teenage suicide. It's from the Spectrum magazine of the Sunday Times. Bagshaw was intrigued by this 1940 shot of a woman who died by falling into a bin, falling into a car. Inside Sunday Times magazine is where you'll find that. You'll also find some other creative stuff, some things about technology, the meltdown in Ireland, and more as we look at the Sunday Independent, Sunday Times, Sunday Business Post, and Sunday Tribune today on my tabletop. Gabriel Byrne, who's the cultural ambassador of Ireland, tells Mick Heaney, or in an article by Mick Heaney inside the Culture magazine, is part of the response that Ireland has to the Global Irish Economic Forum, which was when a bunch of thinkers come together trying to figure out how Ireland could get itself out of a problem, serious meltdown that's happening right now. And what Heaney says is the strategy ought to just simply face Ireland towards like art as creativity. Concentrate on producing resonant material rather than overplaying the economic muscle of the arts sector. Good idea. All important if you're going to create stuff, people who are innovative, like the visual arts sector. A lot of them like Drew Barrymore. She's producing behind the camera now. Jennifer O'Connell is writing for Off Message in the Agenda magazine. You can find her on Twitter, Off Message Jen. What she's pointing out is that Mary Coughlin may not be able to do a lot to allay the fears of Google and Intel, both concerned about grade standards in Ireland. She's pointing out are some other things, which I would say is part of the meltdown in Ireland right now. A meltdown driven by gerontocracy. The suits around the cabinet table, you'll see them later, just aren't up to the job. In fact, that's what Agnes Fanning, who's the editor of the Sunday Independent, says on the front page. Brian Cowan, you should go, so should you, Edna Kenny. Daniel McConnell resonates. Why? The meltdown is, well, statistically, means that Ireland is 25% worse off now than in 2007. The analysis follows throughout the inside of the Sunday Independent. Actually, it's pretty dismal reading. Quantum Research, in an article by Willie Keeley, says, people are saying the government should face down public sector unions, needs to face down them, but at the end of the day probably won't. Will solutions to the economic crisis be found in the Dáil or the Senate? No, 79% of the people say. Should Brian Cowan resign? Yes, say 2/3 of the people. And that's not just Quantum Research. That's all over the map. Technology. The motoring editor is Campbell Spray in The Independent. He likes the charge towards electronic cars, and he points to Padraig McManus launching Ireland's first electric vehicle charge points last week. Free parking, if you got one. Now would be a good time for a coup, writes Gene Carrigan in the Soapbox at Sunday Independent. The big evidence is government's policies are making things worse, and the government intends to persist in those policies. What's that mean? Meltdown in Ireland. I'm not sure the government's going to be able to run its course. There's no way that Cowan can make the backbenchers who are upset disappear like Jerry Adams used to be able to do. The Unholy Exhibition. Shocking art show has protested blasphemy. Ethna Shortnell writes the article. It concerns the Good Friday launch of the Irish Museum of Contemporary Art. And they just basically redo some of these iconic images. The exhibition is intended to highlight how the government is introducing laws to prevent the questioning of institutions like the church and the state at exactly the same time that you need to do it. Questions you should make arising. Homeowners should be able to benefit now, pay later in a €10 billion green energy scheme. Stephen O'Brien has a story. It's a technology story. I could get the government to give me money ahead of having to insulate my home or put on solar panels or ground source some of my geothermal. Details coming this week, hopefully. Here's a trend. Ethna Shortwell points out that cyclists are making Dublin a new Amsterdam. 410,000 journeys already. 16 minutes is the average journey. I like this. Build a bike, a new shop off Capel Street. First park and wash facility. Drop your bike, take a shower, go to work. But nobody's going to drive these limited all-electric cars. Gabrielle Monahan points to some researchers that claim that no one wants really a pure electric car. The government expects 2,000 electric vehicles to be on the road next year. I can see where they'll work. I can see where little applications work well as well. Sandra O'Connell writes the small business emphasis, points out some expert information from Tapadoo and Dermot Daly. Added value of apps. Dermot's got a really cool book. You can name an Irish baby a baby with an Irish name with the pronunciation. Americans just love it. Apps should actually fit into a company's utilitarian strategy, not just the marketing strategy of the company. Good point there, Dermot. Apps are making things like smartphones easier to use. Apps are making people with smartphones smarter, I think. Sunday Tribune, half of the Fianna backbenchers want Cowan to leave. Fat chance, though, right? Fat chance. Shane Coleman says that they gave out a little survey, asked different Fianna backbenchers, what do you think? Should he heave out? Should we heave the man? And half of them said, yeah, we should, really. But, you know, in Ireland, politicians rarely put their head above the parapet, so we'll see where that goes. Recession, the NAMA haircut, 50% for some institutions. That news is going to break this week. Ian Gilder has a story inside the Sunday Tribune. Whoosh, goes the value of some of the commercial property portfolios. Papers are not in order, says Michael Clifford. It's part of the meltdown about the big queue that was outside the passport office in Dublin. I love this. Sean O'Rourke was on the news at 1 asking the CPSU, the Civil and Public Services Union, do you not think that people out there are sick, sore, and tired of your political maneuvers? What planet are you on? He asked Owen Renan on Wednesday's news at 1. I heard that. Planet Birchie is what created this kind of mess in the public service unions. Here's a guy that might actually become the next Taoiseach, next leader of Fianna Fáil. This guy won't last long. I don't think he's going to last through August. Poll slump further puts cuts on Cowan and Fianna Fáil. A widespread lack of faith in Brian Cowan, the leader. Fianna Fáil is going to lose 20, if not 30 seats in the next election. Ian Keel points out on the front page of the Sunday Business Post that the job training initiative, which is something that costs nearly €890,000 for the Irish government to fund, simply did not have a good measure of merit for people hired. So even though it cost nearly $900,000 per person, it was just cancelled. Well, you got to have metrics, lads. You got to also have, well, systems on lending practices that are better than what the Irish government allowed to lead the Irish country into a really big mess. From cranes on the horizon that were actually made effective, builders could actually buy the land, could actually put crews to work on the back of their own personal guarantees. Virtually unheard of elsewhere. Personal guarantees are part and parcel of the Irish booming times. It's irresponsible, and the government let it happen. We're living with it now. The enemy within. I call it gerontocracy, where the meltdown begins. Look at those faces. A lot of them have suits on. They're just too old and out of touch. Brian Cowan is being asked to think about his position. That's John McGuinness. He said those words on KCRR 96 FM at Kilkenny. Cowan's basically given up getting the party back into a healthy position next election. Doing it for the good of the country. So people like McGuinness could actually face a problem stumping for votes on the doorsteps. We need a new leader. That's what most people are saying on the back benches. We need maybe, a new Android phone? Adrian Weckler loves the HTC Legend. Nice phone. Adrian says, speed matters for broadband. Why is Aircom upgrading my package from 1 to 8 tomorrow? Because the decision maker in a lot of houses is the young teenagers, and they want speed. He takes a side swipe. Adrian takes a side swipe at Ryan Tubridy and all the old crusties, I think he calls them. Adrian. Rich men in Ireland. You've probably never heard of this guy before. He runs a Tata dynasty. Paloni Mystery, the oligarch behind India's Tata. He's got an Irish passport because he's married to an Irish woman, 79 years old, 18% of Tata, billions. Ireland's richest man. The rest of this is just a bit of a easy breed, kind of fun. But a lot of blood in it too. A lot of bankers, or rather a lot of builders, hemorrhaging millions of euro. I got to go drive my car today, and I'm going to be out in the back garden making a mud mountain move. Thanks a million for watching. You can check the show notes for this battle at www.insideview.ie. It's Bernie Goldbach in Cashel, County Tipperary, Ireland, saying thanks for watching. Bye for now.